Yeah.
That's right. And he also is a speaker. He's been on ABC. He's been on Doctor Show. What other shows have you been on?
Access Hollywood. Yep. Yep.
So thank you for being today. So, one of the topics that I just want to key in on, because as physicians and as leaders, we all need to take care of ourselves in order to take care of other people. But we know that, but we don't do it. So can you talk to us about how you got to write this book and who is this book for? Tell us a little bit about how to thrive.
Yeah, well, great question. I mean, I find myself like 5 years ago as a practicing interventional radiologist, and what I wanted to do was just climb the ranks, right? Higher and higher in my private practice, chief of interventional radiology at that hospital. But underneath the white coat, who was I? I was overweight, I was diabetic, I was hypertensive, I was on prescription medications, and certainly I was in stage 1 of all the people that ended up in my interventional suite. And I looked into my life and I said, this cannot be right. And here's the thing, Elsie. I don't know in your medical school, it was different from my medical school, but turns out we never really learned how to be healthy in medical school. So many things, all the late night hours that we spend not sleeping, all the food that we were never taught, the good foods that we really should be eating, right? Nobody's really taught to move. We weren't given the tools for health. And when I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, hey, here's this guy telling somebody to be healthy when I don't really understand it myself, I felt like I was a very inauthentic person. I was living a life that was really incongruent to me. And actually, I started to discover that as I brought my life back into congruence with me, back to more joy, back to more authenticity and all that stuff, energetically, my body started to change. Yes, I slept better. Yes, I had to eat better and do all those other things, but it's really remembering who we are as people. And I think going through medical school training, sometimes we always have to please the higher ups and become people we're not. I think it's just trying to find out who we are again.
Wow. So it's a personal story that started it all, sounds like.
Yeah.
So how did you cure yourself? I mean, you don't look like somebody who's diabetic or sick at all. You're very fit. You're very together. What happened?
Well, so initially it was just the physical aspects. It was just I used to start off my day with 2 huge cups of coffee with 12-pound or it's 12 little squirts of International Delight. And then I was doing monster drinks all day. So a lot of it was just, okay, let's just start to eat clean. Let's just start to eat fresh. All right. And let's start changing up my sleeping patterns. In fact, actually, a couple months into this, I said, you know what, full-time interventional radiology in the hospital is no longer for me. From a lifestyle perspective, I just knew that there was a part of me that was a little bit, I don't know, not able to be fully expressed as just a physician in the hospital. And it was tapping into those things. So yes, it started off physical with the sleep, nutrition, and the exercise. Then it was like diving into me. Who am I as a person? What do I want my life to be? And I started to make little tiny changes there. And it wasn't until I started to tap into more joy and more vigor in my life that, you know what, the chronic symptoms disappeared. And now I feel like I'm fitter, I'm happier, I'm healthier, I'm more vibrant than I ever was before.
You're a great role model, obviously, Kien. So if you could just tell us 2 or 3 top things that we can do. The busier that we get, the older that we get, the more that's on our plate, the more that we need to do, the more stress we have, the less time we have for physical activity and yoga and meditation, like everyone talks about. What is your go-to thing that you tell clients to do right away that we could take right now to start doing to change our lives?
It's just to have awareness. We've got so many old programming that makes us think that a text from our boss or getting run over on the highway is a saber-toothed tiger, and that drives our sympathetic response. And that driven response is what causes chronic disease. So how do we tap back into our parasympathetic? Well, imagine, just slowing down, taking 10 deep breaths wherever you're at, In through your nose, out through your mouth. That puts us in a parasympathetic state. It activates our vagus nerve. You know, the Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl said this very powerful quote that I use every single day in my own life. He says, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose a response. And in our response lies our growth and freedom. So whenever we think life is throwing us curveballs, if we could just take 10 deep breaths, create space, you'll notice that all that stress will start to dissipate a little bit. And in that space, this is what I do. I use an acronym called ACT. One, awareness, which is, why am I stressed out? Is it that old story that I'm telling myself I'm not good enough, or you know, this boss thing, whatever it is, have that awareness. But then the power that, you know, Viktor Frankl said, the power to choose. How do I want to feel instead? Do I want to feel joy right now? Do I want to feel gratitude right now? Yeah. And can I produce those feelings in my body? And the last part is take action. From that new state of being, from that new emotion, I could then start to take action. So from there, that's how you start rewiring yourself, rewiring a new life for yourself.
So true. I think most of us kind of live day to day as if we're sleepwalking. And what
Yeah.
you're saying is awareness is key to everything. Then you know how to take control. That you have more control in your life than you think. It's not the environment happening to you. It's your taking control and making, it's your perception of what's going on.
Right. Responding and creating rather than reacting.
Love that. Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. And in terms of chronic diseases, how can people, you know, people out there who have diabetes, I think the older we get, a lot of us become insulin resistant, we gain
Yeah.
weight, then next thing you know, we're drinking alcohol because we want to relax because we're stressed. How do we get away from chronic illnesses beyond just having the awareness?
Yeah. So, I mean, I talk about 7 bioenergetic factors. I mean, our DNA is constantly listening to the energy that's around it, right? So, this is a great thing that, you know, just because mom and dad had heart disease doesn't mean you can as well. You can rewrite how your DNA is expressed. And that's something we never really learned in medical school. And there's actually 7 key things that all of us can control. That's sleep, nutrition, exercise, our stress and emotional control, our thought and mindset, our relationships, and our sense of purpose. All those are actually the energies that our cells, that our DNA is actually listened to on a moment to moment basis. And if we start to like tap into those things, we're going to have more control of our lives and, you know, more of who we are, and, you know, and we get to share more of our gifts.
I love that. So true. I love in your book, you spoke about the twins and how they
Yeah.
were separated at birth and how so different they were, and exactly to what you're talking about, how
Yeah.
they decided their paths went so differently. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what epigenetics really is. You could have the exact same DNA, but um, one twin is going to smoke and live a life, you know, of a lot of hate. That's going to drive inflammatory genes in their body so that the disease can manifest. Or you could have that twin that really kind of takes care of themselves and authentically, you know, taps into who they are as a person and just feels joy, because that feeling of joy, those feelings of gratitude, those positive emotional feelings, actually there's a lot of scientific data that improves, that helps us lengthen telomeres and makes us live a lot longer.
Right. We can easily blame it on our upbringing because, you know, a person who's looking at that story about the twins, they can say, well, you know what, that's because that twin ended up in an unfortunate family situation and this one. But you know what, you don't have to look at it like that, right? We can look at it as we can take control no matter what circumstances we're in, just like Viktor Frankl was talking about.
Yeah,
It was
we
the
could
most
always rewrite that story. I mean, at one point I was thinking, man, you know, I had a really terrible year. I had, you know, diagnosed with diabetes, hypertension, overweight, all that type of stuff. I had a woman leave me for another man that year. I needed shoulder surgery and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do surgery anymore. But at that point, I really got a chance to rewrite my life. Now I could rewrite and said all those things were given to me so that I understood this. All those things were given to me as an MD, not understanding what life and health truly is, to be able to now reverse all those things. So at any point you could start to rewrite the narrative you have in your life. And as you rewrite that, you're going to feel a shift in your own body, to more joy, to more hope, to more gratitude.
So good. Thank you so much for writing such a book and delivering such a message out there. I mean, I used to be very skeptical about anti-aging and functional medicine, integrative medicine, but when I had a personal story of having severe migraines, debilitating migraines, where I had to take medication twice a month that would leave me foggy brained, and I didn't want to even do procedures because of that. But I ended up in a functional medicine office after my MRIs, and my neurologist gave me these meds and said, just don't take too much of this, Elsie. You might get a stroke. And I'm like, what? I'm gonna get a stroke. Anyways, I ended up at a functional medicine doctor who's an MD's office, and she changed my diet, and I have since not taken any medication for my migraines. So there is so much, you're right, that we have not learned in conventional medicine about preventive medicine. And what you're talking about is the whole holistic part of living. So I love that. How can we find your book, and where can people reach you?
Yeah, so you can find a book. If you want to just taste, go to thrivestatebook.com. We'll send you 3 free chapters, but you guys are physicians. You guys can afford it. Get the book, or get the audio book if you like to listen to this, a deep voice of mine. You can get it wherever books are sold, but you can go to thrivestatebook.com. My website, which is just launched, and there'll be little tweaks here and there, is kienvuu.com. That's KIENVUU. There's 2 U's there. .com, and I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that type of stuff at Kien Vuu MD.
Right. And is there an email that we can post?
Yeah. I mean, if you guys have questions, want to reach out to me directly, I am Kien at kienvuumd.com.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you more about this. Thank you so much for taking the time to tell us how to thrive.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for your support in watching our weekly podcast. This is Dr. Elsie Ko, CEO and founder of Lead Physician. Our new program is starting in July. Come check us out at www.leadphysician.org. We are here to equip you with leadership and business skills to make quantum leaps in your life and career. Take care.